Zoning Commission, and we need to start with a roll call.
Chairman Morris.
Here.
Commissioner Blue.
Present.
Commissioner Cotton.
Here.
Commissioner Hesner. Commissioner Heidner.
Here.
Commissioner Mulcrone.
Here.
Commissioner Gorog.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay. This evening, we have consideration of case 1409, which is a petition filed by the College of Lake County. It is filed pursuant to Appendix C of the Village of Vernon Hills Code of Ordinances, and it requests 1, approval of a special use permit to allow expansion of a public school, 2, approval as part of that special use permit, certain variations including but not limited to setbacks and height regulations, 3, preliminary and final site and landscaping plan approvals, and 4, preliminary and final approval of the architectural elevations. The particular property is located at 1120 South Milwaukee Avenue in Vernon Hills. It is currently zoned PIB, Public and Institutional Buildings. It's part of the TIF district. Okay, with that, at least who are 2/3 of the people that may speak on behalf of the petitioner? You need to come forward, please, if you're going to speak at all.
Oh,
You're not going to speak at all? Then you still have to come forward because we have to swear you in. We're very prophylactic. We don't want to do it on the fly. Okay. We ask you raise your right hand and swear that you'll provide the truth to this testimony before the Village of Vernon Hills.
I will.
Okay. So with that, I guess we turn to the right, and you can introduce this, Joe.
Sure. So late last year, the College of Lake County came before the village to request this addition for a chemistry lab building, which is approximately 2,500 square feet on the College of Lake County South Lake campus. As previously indicated, in 2012, there was an amendment to the zoning code for public and institutional building districts that required that educational facilities be considered a special use. That resulted in this proposal here being subject to a public hearing before the Planning and Zoning Commission. As part of the PIB district, there are a number of considerations that relates to setbacks and landscaping requirements, as well as screening, which is located in the building height regulation requirements within the PIB district. There it's indicated that rooftop units should be screened. Through the course of the conversations with Leggett Architects, discussing this, the screening required, there's a number of different things that were of technical nature required to both provide the screening, but also provide appropriate exhaust for what is a chemistry building. So if there's different features and functions that are required for such a chimney stack. In your packet, it does include a breakout of that chimney stack as well as the height. Along with that, there's architectural features as presented by the material sample board to my right. The brick that they're proposing consist of cranberry velour, canterbury velour, and a Dakota pink smooth. Those are consistent with the brick coloring that's currently located at the college South Lake campus building. That was one of the things that we looked at in discussions with Leggett Architects to ensure that there's a consistency of building materials throughout, and we did have some assistance with the Planning Commission members on making sure that consistency was kept. In addition to that, there is some spandrel glass columns along the chemistry lab addition to, again, ensure continuity between the glass that's in the new building, that's be consistent with the glass on the other existing building structures. In addition to that, there's also a walkway that will be connecting this building to the rest of the campus that is located on the north of the building addition, as well as a concrete patio that will be utilized for students that will be relocated there between the existing structures and the chemistry lab addition. Furthermore, in regards to landscaping that's currently there will be relocated or in some cases removed, and new plant species being planted along the south and the west of the building to provide screening and generally consistent with the landscape requirements that have been set forth in our ordinance. The Public Works Department, with their landscape technician, has reviewed and approved the plans. They are very confident and comfortable with the plans being submitted as they currently are. As it's indicated in your packet, and stop me if I'm talking too fast, there are a number of different variations being requested. The first being a side yard setback variation. As you can see, it's very minimal in the setback variation being requested. It's also important to note that it does not run outside the boundaries of the existing structures, so there is no, so they do run parallel with each other. And so that was a key point that we had in staff review, as well as the very minor variation length that was being requested. In addition to that, the landscape buffer was also looked at, and that's looking at a variation of approximately 8 feet off of Port Clinton Road. That again was an item that in consultation with the Public Works Department and the landscape technician and their review, they did not feel it was of concern, and so that was something that we again had no concerns or issues with moving forward on that. The third variation is related to the partial screening of the chimney. Again, the height of the building is approximately 28 feet. The overall height of a building within a PIB district cannot be greater than 35 feet. The chimney, by and large, when measuring a building height, is not counted in that, nor is rooftop screening part of that. However, just of note, it does not exceed the maximum building height allowed, and the screening that's allowed basically only shows about approximately 4 feet of the chimney that would be unscreened. We felt like that was not a detriment to the recommending approval for the project. We felt that working with them, they've satisfactorily met all the needs of the village and or that of staffs through the technical review process. And so overall, we have no major concerns and do recommend approval as proposed.
Any questions?
It appears when looking at the exhaust fan, it's not really a chimney, it's an exhaust fan, but it looks like it matches the screening. I mean, I don't think it looks bad. I mean, there's a purpose for that exhaust fan in a chemical laboratory. I mean, you have to have it. So just my comment. I think it looks fine.
I agree. I wouldn't raise the screening any higher, because then it would start to get too massive in height. And it is what it is. And
That was one of the concerns that we looked at when we were shown elevation drawings showing screening completely covering the exhaust, and that, at least for my eyes, looked like it was more noticeable and more substantive than if it's just simply a.
That mass would be obtrusive. I mean, it would just be the little exhaust fans, and I realize it's not little, but compared to the mass of all the screening, I think it looks fine.
Anybody else?
Is the new structure, it has exterior lighting on it? The old structure does not, is that correct?
So there is wall-mounted exterior lighting, and that'll be something that will be reviewed and approved by the building commissioner with their approval. Typically, I don't think these are, photometrics weren't required for this, but since it is a new building, I'm not sure if there's existing lighting along that current location.
Well, the other side of the building doesn't show it, at least in this diagram. It is the back.
I think it is. Yeah. Anybody else? I just have one question. Are the windows on the existing building, do they operate, or are they just fixed glass?
I believe they're fixed glass windows.
Okay. Okay, any other questions, anybody? Anybody? I note that public notices were sent to the surrounding property owners, and the village, at least as the time of our packets, received no comments. Is that still the case?
Correct.
So we have no comments on it. I also note that our packets include section 18.3 standards and responses from the college. And you're looking for us to do this in, what, kind of a variety of 4 different motions?
If you wish, though, certainly if you'd like to vote them all as one item, that's certainly also acceptable.
I think all was one.
Yeah, unless anybody's, wait, Jim?
Was the landscape plan reviewed by staff?
Yes, it was. And, yeah, Public Works reviewed that's where the landscape technician is within. He's also an engineering technician. He did review the landscape plan and provided comments and updated, and through the technical review process, they came to a point where they've agreed and approved with the plans as submitted.
And the patio area that currently doesn't exist in the,
Not an existing layout, no.
so
I mean, there is some patios currently there.
anticipated food would be served out in that area, or
In
just
terms
if
of,
they brought their own?
if someone brought their own, if there's any internal concessions, that would be part of the existing structure, and as already approved. Nothing in the proposed building addition includes any type of cafeteria or food service. I mean, if there's a vending machine, maybe, but other than that, there's nothing being proposed.
Anything else? And I assume the police and the fire department looked at this because of the use,
Yes.
and we have no comments from either of them?
No.
Okay, okay. Since this is a public hearing, despite the snow, we have to open it up for public comments. So if anyone from the public wants to speak, this would be their opportunity to do so. Okay, well, since we see no rush to the podium, we can close the public comment portion of the meeting. And unless there's anything else anyone wants to add, or unless you'd like to add anything, we can proceed to vote. Since these are all interrelated, we can do this as one omnibus motion, which would be a motion to recommend approval of a special use permit to allow expansion of a public school, and as part of that special use permit, certain variations, including but not limited to the reference setbacks and rooftop screening regulations, as well as preliminary and final site and landscape plan approvals and approval of the architectural elevations, subject to the noted conditions for approval prepared by staff, which include the general compliance with the plans, as well as the 4 conditions of approval for the entire site. We need a second for that.
Second.
Any discussion with regard to that omnibus motion? Okay, if not, we need a roll call.
Commissioner Heidner,
Yes.
Commissioner Mulcrone,
Yes.
Commissioner Gorog,
Yes.
Chairman Morris,
Yes.
Commissioner Blue,
Yes.
Commissioner Cotton,
Yes.
Commissioner Hesner.
Okay. In record time. Congratulations. And this goes to the board when?
It'll go before the board on March 17th for the committee of the whole agenda.
Did you say March 17th?
Correct.
Oh, I'm sorry, we thought it was going to March 3rd.
They're reviewing our 2015-16 budget on the 3rd, and due to that, we've been told that that's the only items to be placed on the agenda for approval. It's
Thank you very much.
no problem.
Okay, thank you. Good luck. Okay, do we have anything we need to discuss before we look at the minutes?
For development review, no new items as it relates to anything that was mentioned in the last meeting. Just again of note, we've got the proposal on the southwest corner, Buffalo Grove Road and Route 45. So that's still going forward. We have not yet received technical review comments, or technical review submittal, excuse me, for that. That's a 54-unit, single-family detached structure. That's something that right now there's a number of different conversations taking place involving the school districts. As you may recall, when the Oaks was here, there was some concerns from the elementary school district, the Lincolnshire Prairie View District, of increasing student populations for the elementary school. That's something that the developer is aware of for the Swanson development there. That's the name of the architect, Rick Swanson. And because of that, we are in the process of having talks with the different districts to try to come to an agreement upon boundary lines and that certainly will be a process, as well as conversations with the township office, who we've just been made aware owns property to the south and has been doing a number of mitigation efforts related to their own property. Combine those three items with the fact that it may also involve Army Corps of Engineer review and approval. There's a number of different steps that need to take place while moving forward with that site.
Okay.
Other than that, nothing.
Is the mall on schedule?
Mall is still on schedule. They did transfer build out to AMC Theater. So now they're moving forward and kind of putting all the bells and whistles into place. So things are moving along well with there, and we're certainly very thankful to Westfield and the work that they've been doing. And our inspectors have spent a lot of time out there. They can probably tell you every nook and cranny of the place by now, but it's been good.
You know what restaurants are going in there?
None officially signed off and confirmed.
When are they going to do the pylon signs?
Pylon signs, I believe, well, that's a good question. I know it's been reviewed and approved by the board as part of a past submittal package that was done as part of the overall mall renovation work. They had some minor tweaks that brought them back before the board earlier in the year in January, and now I believe they've gone in for permit. I have to verify that, but I know they're moving forward, but they're moving at their pace.
2?
I believe it's 2. I'd have to double check.
The same size as what we saw, or is it different?
I don't think they've changed from, I think what's changed is maybe some of the smaller directional signage changed, because what they realized is what they proposed actually was really meant more for California weather and less of Illinois weather. And I think they actually put some of these signs out at Old Orchard and found that snowplow and the light and snow just wasn't being conducive to it being illuminated. So instead, if you're driving around the ring road of the mall and you're looking at, trying to think of, on the west side of the mall, kind of the central, there is a entrance directional signage that's different than the rest. And it stands out. It looks really nice in my opinion, but that's what they'll be putting out through the rest of the mall.
So is that new, or is that just, I mean, has it been?
That was put in place to kind of provide a real example of what the proposal would look like to the board. We took some pictures for the board, and I can make sure that those get sent to everyone as well. If you're interested, I can be happy to do that.
What about the building at the corner?
The 850 Milwaukee?
Yeah.
So I know Northwestern Hospital, our medical office did come in for permits. Centrum Partners is and Larry Powers is the individual who's been the principal person before us. He has a number of different ideas on creating additional space for other tenants at that location. One of those being a restaurant space, as well as potential retail space. As it was a previous concern when it was before the Planning and Zoning Commission, parking is of serious concern and one that is really going to need to be carefully studied. And that's something that they're currently having a parking study being conducted by KLOA, and hopefully that'll provide some guidance as to the feasibility of a restaurant use. And I believe it's at Uncle Julio's is what he's potentially looking at. It's a Mexican restaurant. It's more of a higher end Mexican restaurant.
But they're
Very good.
big.
It would be taking up essentially the entire south portion of the,
Yeah.
with small retail spots, but subject to parking, and a lot of that's going to be looking at hours of operation and how that jives with the medical use, as well as any other potential proposed retail use. But I think the long-term belief is that eventually the bank may not be located there anymore, and instead it would be those two, or those potentially multiple uses.
Okay. Anybody else?
Is there anything happening with the Cuneo parcel?
Nothing yet. We've had some discussions with Lake County regarding the covenants, regarding not only to the land use on the site, but also the number of homes that are allowed within the Greg's Landing development as a whole. That's something that's still ongoing. I would not expect to see any type of presentation to the board at a concept level until end of March or possibly April or later. Number of conversations taking place between Loyola, Pulte, and the village. Primarily right now taking place between the village, Lake County, and Loyola to determine the long-term use and viability of the mansion. And that being a priority of the villages, looking at how that's going to be done, looking at ensuring the proceeds of land sale are being put towards the use of maintaining and providing maintenance to the mansion. But there's also a number of questions that are still left unresolved related to just how much really is there to maintain and ensuring the long-term viability of the mansion going forward, as opposed to a Band-Aid approach. But so it's probably still some ways out. I know there was an article in the paper probably about a month ago now at this point that kind of indicated that development was moving quickly, and that's not the case.
Okay. All right, then we have the approval of the minutes from the January 14th, 2015 meeting. I'm guessing
I'll
one of
move
them-
to approve.
Can we need a second? We do by acclamation, but I assume, Commissioner Mulcorn, are you going to abstain from this one?
Yes.
Okay, so we have 2 abstentions.
I'll vote present.
I mean, I wasn't here either, so. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'll vote for it then. Okay, and we have 2 abstentions, or present. Anything else we need to note this evening?
No, I think that was,
Okay.
You want us to leave these here?
yes, if you could please leave these here, that'd be helpful. One item that was brought up, just kind of off the side, was whether or not, at some point, we wanted to discuss potentially having the meeting time be 7 instead of 7:30. Obviously, during the winter weather, it's more advantageous for a 7:30 meeting time in the event that architects or other individuals are unable to make the commute to the northern suburbs.
Minutes are up.
Yeah.
And so certainly that's something I do want to be very cognizant of, and so I think that's more of a conversation for sunnier days than today.
Okay. Okay. We have a motion to adjourn. We need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No one's opposed. We're adjourned. Thank you. Good night.
The most articulate